Hello, welcome back to my series in Factorio, in which I'm attempting to build a mega factory. My name is Azrael. Come along with me as we continue our adventure. If you remember in the previous episode, we finally got our copper train set up to match the iron train that was doing exceptionally well, but I did not have enough time to build out a full-fledged smelting area for those copper plates, so that's one of the things that we're going to do today. I just wanted to make sure that I've got enough resources in my inventory to craft up the furnaces. Let's take stone, bricks, steel, and advanced circuits. And it does look like my copper train is not delivering anything at the moment. It's probably run out of fuel, because as I recall, I only put a couple of pieces of wood in there as a temporary measure, and then just never got around to making it a more permanent thing. But in the meantime, I'm setting up a bunch more furnaces over here to help get all of that flowing back into the base, because right now the copper flow is really low. And so just finishing that up, this area is also becoming a bit of a biter target. You see a couple of them crawling through here every now and then, and especially since I just took out all of my turrets to make room for the substations. Don't worry, I'll be putting those back in place here soon. In the meantime, I want to go ahead and space out a second dual column. There we go. And I have a very limited number of them in my inventory, even though I picked up a bunch of resources to craft them up. Those things just take a lot of steel. There's a couple of biters coming in, just as soon as I put down the replacement turrets, and right before I could get the ammunition in it, so they did manage to damage it just a little bit. But that's okay, it wasn't anything really serious. Heading back over into the main factory, I'm going to pick up even more steel, craft up a bunch more of those, and it's still just not giving me a whole lot of options. I pick up a few more advanced circuits, but that's actually not what I'm short on. It turns out it's just simply a matter of not having enough steel. I'm going to go ahead and I check on my circuit production. It's pretty much maxed out for where it is right now. I'm going to eventually have to expand on that. That's okay. I mean, circuit production is going to be pretty much the main part of the factory because everything needs circuits. You need them for modules, for capsules, and as well as all the little things that they're already serving right now. So that does need to be expanded out quite a bit. In the meantime, I'm just continuously killing my steel backup, the steel supply, rather. But that's okay. As I said, we're producing plenty of iron plates, so we can get plenty of steel plate production happening. I'm going to go ahead and set up the input belt to bring these plates over into the main factory. I decided I'm going to set up a second one below the previous line, and just gotta go ahead and this thing is still running just a little bit, so I have to go ahead and feed that into the main bus, at least for the moment. And I used up all of my red belts for that little excursion, so I'm going to need to pick up a few more and do the same thing on the way back. Just go ahead and get all of that down, and you can see right now that the copper supply is just dangerously low. But for right now, I want to get this infrastructure in place, so we're just going to go ahead and match it up to the previous dual column of furnaces. Get a couple of things out of my way there. I want to make sure that every time I take a turret down, I'm replacing it. Because just the constant flow of biters over here. I know I said I was going to need to go do another biter nest crawl. I'll probably have to do that in the next episode because I just don't have enough time to get around to it in this one. Because this is taking up most of my time, and we have a few other issues crop up a little later that you'll no doubt see that will also end up taking up most of our time. There goes another biter just as soon as I took out a turret. You can't even let that go for 5 seconds in this case. And as you'll notice, there's some power issues cropping up in the in those couple of furnaces up there, and that is a harbinger. Right there, I realized that my copper train is out of fuel. I'm gonna head back over there to check on that. But in the back of my mind, I realize that, and then of course as I'm passing into the main factory, I'm realizing everything's out of power because we're completely out of coal on my boilers. And that no doubt is a combination of the fact that I'm setting up a whole bunch of electric furnaces, as well as having a couple of my coal mining drills run dry. I think there was a total of 4 of them that ran out, so it just wasn't enough to keep up with the demand. So as an emergency precaution, I'm just going to go down here and drop a bunch of coal directly onto the belts. It's working somewhat. I've got about a third of those boilers back up and running, but this isn't going to last very long. You can see that the coal is starting to trickle back in from the mine up here because everything is kind of going. So I'm going to have to put down a bunch more mining drills up here, just realizing that I am starting to run out of space. There was the 4th mining drill that I realized was empty. So just setting everything back up, so hopefully that can start supplying enough coal to get out of it, although we all know that that's really not the case. So it has now become later rather than sooner that I should have been setting up my solar factory, or my solar array. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and start doing. I decided I'm going to do it down here so that it is relatively out of the way. There's not a whole lot going on down here. There aren't any resource patches in the immediate area. So this does have plenty of room to expand as needs arise. I go ahead and set up a blueprint for later, rename that solar array, and stick it in the blueprint book, even though I really can't make use of blueprints right now because I do not have the construction bots. So I have to set all of this up by hand, and this is going to take a while, especially since I keep realizing that I'm not setting it down in the most efficient manner. Right now I do need to focus more on the solar panels and not the accumulators, just so that I can get at least enough power into the factory during the daytime, if not the nighttime itself. But I also don't want to leave a whole bunch of gaps in my solar array because I'd have to go back and fix that eventually. Yeah, and the coal is almost completely out once again there. I decide I'm going to set up another feeder box. I don't know what happened to the previous one here. I could have sworn that I already had one of those set up, but I probably just took it out because I didn't think it was necessary anymore. And so I'm going to go ahead and find some of my other coal overflow boxes. I've got like 1 or 2 of them around the base. There was one of them. Here's the other. And I'm just going to go ahead and set that going. Yeah, that's going to start feeding, but since it's just one burner inserter, it's really slow and it's never going to make up for the shortages that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a triple feeding system onto there. It looks a little weird, but it's better than nothing at the moment. And let's go ahead and I'm checking out my power production there. It's still woefully inadequate. And that's just simply because I don't have enough solar panels in place yet. So building up a few more of these squares. I realize that these squares are nowhere near the proper ratio. Somebody once figured out that the most ideal and efficient ratio of accumulators to solar panels is 21 to 25. And these squares have 12 to 16, which is, I think, just a little bit shy of that magic 0.84 ratio. I think that's actually closer to like a 0.75 if my math is correct on that. But it's not a huge issue. It just simply means that I will need more accumulators somewhere else to balance that out. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Come over here to my copper mine to refuel that train, make sure that it's setting off. And while I'm over here, I'm going to mess around with some of the signals here. I'm going to replace some of these with chain signals. I remember reading somewhere, I think it was actually on a YouTube video that I watched the other day, where they mentioned that the general rule of thumb when it comes to signals is that you put a chain signal heading into an intersection and the regular rail signals coming out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and see if that helps by setting up a few over here. I've got this this power pylon right in the way where that one would go, and that ends up cutting off power to my copper unloading station. But quick fix over there, and we're back up and running. Set up a few more signals there for the eventual expansion. And now I'm going to upgrade all of the inserters to stack inserters coming out of that. Hopefully that'll help it go a little faster. It certainly helped unload the train a little bit faster there just a moment ago. I'm going to upgrade some of these boxes to steel chests. I don't have enough steel to do them all at the moment, but I'm also upgrading the splitters and underground belts up to the red variety. I forget to do this little bit where it crosses the rails, but oh well. It's not a huge deal because you can already see that the ore is piled up on either side of those dual columns anyway. And back here in the factory, there is now plenty of copper plates. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to pick up a few more solar panels and obviously some more steel because I'm going to be needing a lot of steel here. I'm checking out the previous the copper furnace area, and the coal is starting to recover a little bit. There's now about 2/3 of those boilers running instead of, you know, like 1 or 2. But it is not going to be sufficient for the long term, so I'm going to go ahead and set up more of my solar squares. And that just requires getting rid of a whole bunch of trees and just, you know, getting everything all lined up there. The idea is that, you know, obviously you want to have the solar panels producing power and then, you know, enough power to both run the base and fill up the accumulators so that they can run overnight. And right now that's just not happening. You can see all those accumulators are flashing red, meaning that they have no charge. And so it's just always a constant battle of balancing all of this out. Let's go ahead and get a few more of those in place. And I'm wondering if that's going to be enough. I don't think so because they're not filling up yet, even though the sun just came up. So I have to place down a few more. And getting all those in place. I'm trying to figure out more efficient ways of laying this out so it's not taking as much time. I know this is kind of boring to watch. It's even boring for me to narrate at the moment. And then my steel pick runs out, and I don't have enough steel in my inventory to craft up another one, so I have to settle for an iron pick. At least until I can run up there, back into the main base to collect a few more. While I'm down here, though, I'm going to rearrange the original copper mine to at least just eat up these last remaining resources a little bit faster so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. Just having this one belt going back up into the factory is just more of an annoyance than anything else. So I'm just trying to lay out the most efficient way of getting rid of all of those resources that I can with the 9 mining drills that I have in my inventory. This should do it pretty well. Gonna go ahead and research laser turrets as if I have the power to spare to power those. but I'm just going to go ahead and get this thing running at the moment. That should help deplete that area with haste. My backup box is empty, but this area is flowing fairly well. It could always do with a few more mining drills. And just because of the way that I started out with this thing, now what's left of it is just really bizarre layout. So I'm going to go ahead and move some of these around just so that I actually have the opportunity to put down more mining drills that can benefit both the oil processing up to the north and the power supply down here to the south. That should do it. I can place down a few more drills, get them powered up. Hopefully that will feed it well enough that I don't have to worry about it at the moment. Alright, in the meantime, I need more steel so I can craft up that steel, the mining pick, whatever, I don't remember what that's called. And then we're just going to head back down here. I'm going to check this unloading station. I was going to upgrade those last couple of inserters to stack inserters, but I don't have enough of them in my inventory. So I'm just going to go over here and finish upgrading all those chests, steel chests. And at first I'm thinking that my train has run out of ore, or run out of coal again, but it hasn't. It's just at the station waiting patiently to be loaded. And the 10 mining drills that I have over there are no longer sufficient. You can see actually down there in the bottom of the screen that all of that ore just disappeared completely because it was not a full load. It ended up leaving the loading station at the 60-second deadline rather than when it was full because there wasn't enough. But that's not going to be a huge concern for me right now. Because as you can see, there's plenty of copper plates to be feeding the factory at the moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick up some more accumulators and more solar panels and continue working on that that field down there in the south. I can get rid of that overflow box. Go ahead and just pick up all my steel. I need more substations for that. And realize that I also want to go back up here and get some more iron plates and craft up some more mining drills because I am going to head over there into the copper mine to set those down in the future. In the meantime, just want to continue building this because I also don't ever like leaving these things half constructed like they are now. So here we go, just setting those out. Got to get some more trees out of the way. And those construction bots just can't get here soon enough, can they? Alright, clearing all of that out. Laying down more solar panels. And so on and so forth. Yeah, more research all there as well. And now that I have, anyway, I'm just gonna keep doing them and just pretty much whatever's at the front now because I'm so far behind with the technology that I actually have researched. I have practically none of it being used in the factory yet. But you know, with patience, all things will come. In the meantime, I've just got to focus on what's happening now. And as you can see, my accumulators are finally starting to power up, which means that there is an excess of electricity being generated, more than what the factory is using at the moment. So we're making progress here. I just want to go ahead and continue putting down as many as I can. Let's go check out our production. It's barely ahead, but it is ahead. The accumulators are not going to last the night, though. And speaking of night, the sun is now going down. I'm just going to go ahead and put down more of these, as many as I can. You can see that those accumulators that I'm putting down are not charging, which means that there is not enough to put back in there. We're now draining the accumulators. There you can see the charge dropping, gone. Everything goes dark. So now the steam engines are the only thing supplying power. Hopefully there was enough coal in them to last for a while. I briefly began thinking maybe I should get some bots going, but I am out of time for the episode today. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Azrael. Never stop building, and never stop researching.